Among the top 3 smartest animals in the entire franchise, next to the Indominus and the Jurassic Park 3 raptors, the indoraptor was a force to reckon with. It didn't just show intelligence of its predecessor, but an unforeseen amount of malevolence as well, killing different people by tricking them, from breaking the light in its own cell to force someone to come and fix it, all the way to pretending to be knocked out just to murk the guard. However, its ultimate downfall was its training. It was so abused that whenever it heard the buzzer or saw the laser, it threw its own life away trying to catch the target, and unfortunately that did it in. But what about the hybrid not too far off in terms of size, and without the restraints of psychological chains? As a matter of fact, it is literally insane. Every action this thing does is based off of pain or the inability to control itself. It makes the Indominus Rex look like child's play when it comes to killing for sport. That's right folks, as voted for in the server, go join by the way, I'm going to be replacing the Indoraptor in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and instead drop the confrontation maniac there instead. Despite it also being a hybrid, the Scorpius is not nearly as intelligent as the others after it. It wildly attacks anything that moves and has a weird obsession with fire. That isn't its fault however, as it was the first sort of real hybrid book created for Eli Mills, and it was so jam-packed with genomes from different animals that it's a total mess. It's gonna be the opposite of the Indoraptor. Precise and cunning steps are now replaced with unadulterated wrath and pain. Just before we start this, if you're new here and enjoy this sort of content, consider hitting those buttons. You know what I'm talking about, but hey, if you just want to watch, that's good enough for me. The Scorpius was a hybrid Henry Wu made for Eli Mills officially as a commission, but in the end it was also for Masrani, who wanted to see how a hybrid would look. The CEO deemed E750 so ugly that he demanded that Wu destroy it. That's tough. Imagine someone not even taking a good look at you, just a glance and they want to erase you. But hey, I can't blame him. One look at that thing and you'd be running on all fours like Spear from Primal, and killing it would be a mercy since there's so much different animal DNA in this thing that it's basically in pain most of the time. Random seizure episodes, cancerous lumps along its body, and it can't even breathe properly due to the shape of its skull and the underdeveloped respiratory system. Despite this, Wu of course keeps it, as he does with everything, underground where he thought it could be used for later. But of course it again breaks out and this whole mess started. But what if it didn't? And instead of the Indoraptor being displayed, it was the Scorpius. I mean, the Indoraptor probably is still in the works, but since the Scorpius is still there, maybe Wu still wanted to do more with it. So for now, the Indoraptor is a work in process, or probably a hatchling at this point. With Nublar gone to hell, the auctions and such would carry on as normal. Only now no electrician is gonna die before the Scorpius goes up on stage. This thing may be powerful, but it doesn't have the intellect to think of a plan like this. But with that said, if they somehow do decide to keep it in a cell with bars, it would be almost always trying to attack someone due to its manic behavior. And if this thing decides to shoot a bunch of quills all over the place at random, then a few people could die if the tranquilizer isn't given to them fast enough. This may result in a special holding box for the animal of sorts, like a highly resistant clear cube that's made of the same stuff as a gyrosphere or even stronger. If you're wondering why Wu or even Eli would want to even put this thing on auction due to how grotesque it is, trust me, at least Eli would still convince Wu to put it up for show, because despite how obnoxious it looks, some weird rich elite is gonna want to buy it. These are the same people who probably eat, well, other people. As for the interaction with Maisie, it would slam against the wall, alerting her before she even gets the chance to get too close. I explained this in another video, but unlike the Indominus that sort of knew that she was killing for sport and was conscious of her actions, this thing kills because it can't help itself. Not because it was hungry, but because it was so overstimulated that everything that moved had to be made still, or its mind races or something. We even see it in other scenarios, like when it saw Yaz, it didn't do anything but let out a shriek, but once she did the move, it didn't do anything. Only until she started running did it give chase. You could call this predator drive, but this is something even beyond that. Aside from Maisie needing at least a decade's worth of therapy for seeing that thing, everything else goes on as seen in the original movie. Owen releasing the dinosaurs and everyone scattering. Only now when he's running past the cage, he'll lose all hope in humanity after seeing what Wu made this time. Obviously the box can't be completely sealed, it's gonna need some air holes, and they must be just large enough so a trunk dart could pass through so they can take it out of the box when they want to. Upon seeing this thing, the stupid guard might be even more intrigued to get one of its teeth. I mean, some are way bigger than the Indoraptors. So when he tranks this thing out while it's freaking out trying to get him, it's gonna just plop to the ground and he's gonna go in. Again, due to this thing being dumber than a lot of the even non-hybrid dinosaurs, it's not gonna concoct some decisive plan of escape. So it's actually gonna be asleep. So now, for the purposes of extending this video so I can give out more than hugs this Christmas, I'm going to pull the rare case that I did when I replaced the Indoraptor with a Megaraptor. That being the full dosage not being injected and the Scorpius waking up early. There's like a 20 to 30% chance of wild animals waking up after a trunk dart, which is why you usually see wildlife vets given additional anesthetic to make sure it's down. However, this is an employee at Jurassic World who likely gets paid $30 an hour, so they're not gonna give him any anesthetic. So due to this bloke being so unlucky, this happens to be one of the few times the animal actually wakes up early, and this is the worst thing he could wake up to. When it awakes, it's going to be a bit wobbly, but once it sees movement, it's going to charge, and all I could say is that I'd rather litter in Gotham than be in this situation. There isn't going to be any mind games or slow approach like with the Indoraptor. This Scorpius is going to maim the guy and he's going to be alive until he bleeds out or it rips off his head. This time the elevator lady screaming is somewhat valid, although still dumb, and when this thing comes in hot, everyone's heart is going to be in their bum. But the shaft will close, but like the Indoraptor, when it closes, the tail is going to hit the electronics and the door is going to open again, leading to a slaughter of unimaginable proportions. What's worse is that it likely isn't going to fully kill everyone immediately or quickly enough. Once it's halfway mauling someone and sees movement somewhere else, it's going to go to that, and the process continues until everything is still. So for a minute or few, some people might still be barely alive when the thing switches to another running target. It's like a person who gets overstimulated easily and just likes quiet or feels calm in it. To the extreme, of course. In terms of Owen and the others, I'll be real with you, I think there's like an 80% chance of them dying here. Once they make a noise and this thing discovers them when walking around the trike statue, it's going to be a wrap. It is decently faster than the Indoraptor. Darius himself was shocked at how fast it could move, although that was mostly due to the clone, but I digress. I mean, the fastest pure dinosaur of the franchise was caught up to with fair ease. Not even the drones were safe. So chances are that Claire and Maisie are going to get chopped off the life subscription first, you know, with them sticking close and all. However, Owen could probably die first too when he tries to be a hero and distracted, but his plot armor isn't saving him this time, as he's mauled, while the other two follow not too long after since they're going to be frozen in shock. Claire after seeing her lover in a pile of mashed up organs, and Maisie after seeing, well, a dead person and she's a kid. And so the movie comes to an end, and the entire franchise is changed forever after the three main characters of the next movie have been killed. But hey, let's say they make it far enough for Maisie to get away and hide in her room. What now? Well, one of two things. It roars like the Indoraptor because Brain seems to make both of these things want to roar for some reason, and it either runs off or finds Maisie. Normally I'd say it would run off, but Maisie's light in her room would almost certainly make it want to come down there. And it isn't going to politely open the door, it's going to bash that thing open. As it looks around, it will see Maisie curl up under the sheets, but this is real life, and the monsters can't make contact with you under the covers. That's why Uncle Davis isn't allowed at family gatherings anymore. It will be inquisitive at first as with Yaz, inching a bit closer but remaining calm for the most part, but when the brat starts to make that high-pitched, silentish screaming noise, it's going to be set off, and well, you can fill in the rest. Owen is likely going to come in too late, and upon seeing this, a barrage of bullets are going to fly. Even though the Indoraptor is a bit more durable than the Scorpius, the difference isn't enough to the point where Owen's rifle would hurt this pug-faced menace too much. Actually, I don't even think it was his original rifle. Unlike real animals who are in close quarters with the person that's shooting them, it's gonna lunge forward and kill Owen as well, with Blue soon to follow. Although she held her own pretty well in Cretaceous, the area was more open for her to dodge and weave, and eventually it is gonna kill her while getting beat up itself. As for Claire, she could either move on and live, or decide to go back and check in, at which point the monster will track her all across the manor until it catches her, and boom, the main cast still die. Eventually it will escape. Like almost every other dinosaur, it would likely be recaptured eventually with some casualties, but the story wouldn't end with that one Scorpius, as it has the ability to asexually reproduce. So either by live birth or possibly a small clutch, it's gonna have spawn in the area. However, it could just be one for a few months, since if we assume the other Scorpius in Cretaceous was born with siblings, then it likely killed them, which is a big thing amongst the hybrids in this franchise, leaving this specific individual. This sole survivor would mature enough until it could have offspring of its own, and these things can grow quick. If we look at the tube where the original was being held, it was decently smaller than portrayed in the movie, or series I should say, so in a few months or possibly weeks, this animal could achieve its max size or somewhat close, which means that if an extraction team isn't issued out fast enough, there could very well be a big problem. Wu and the others in the field will hear reports of another Scorpius in the area despite the original being in containment, but Wu, knowing exactly what this is, would formulate an advanced extraction team to sweep the entire area and ensure every single clone is either captured or killed before a mini plague happens, and if it gets too much, I'm sure the military with the right knowledge could wipe out any remaining populations if they were to discharge. And that's my idea of how Fallen Kingdom would go if the Scorpius was there instead of the Indoraptor. While I personally do think the Indoraptor would win in the deathmatch and is definitely deadly when it comes to tracking its skills, the sheer madness and unpredictable behavior of the Scorpius would lead to it being more dangerous to Owen and the other two if we use the same plot. There won't be any stalls or real sinking, just constant attacks over and over again. However, them dying isn't even guaranteed because, as I said, it's likely never going to escape containment because there's like a 70 to 80% chance of the full dosage being injected into it, and the guard having enough time to collect its tooth and then close back the door, so you can rest easy knowing that most of the time it was never going to escape. But this is the Jurassic franchise, and something always escapes in the weirdest or most stupid ways. But let me know your thoughts. Would it be somehow better, or would Owen and his loved ones not even leave the building alive? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's all for now folks, I'll see you Sunday.